Fox Sports.
We are Black Horse. We are Southwest.
A Rangers sweep of the Astros happened 3 times last season, and that success was a big factor in winning the Western Division. In the first installment of the Silver Boot Series this year, your Rangers are on the cusp of again sweeping Houston right out of Arlington. The task is not an easy one, though, as the Astros look to reigning American League Cy Young winner Dallas Keuchel to salvage a game at Globe Life Park. It's your Rangers and the Houston Astros coming up next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is brought to you by AT&T High-Speed Internet. Well, a beautiful evening here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. Clear skies, mild temperatures, and the sweet smell of a sweep in the air as the Rangers get set to take on the Houston Astros. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Grieve, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us tonight. What may be a historic night, beating Dallas Keuchel, something that not many teams can say they've done over the last couple of years. The Rangers, although treated Keuchel roughly last year here, he still is a tough customer. Tonight, he'll be opposed by A.J. Griffin.
Last year, Dallas Keuchel was the Cy Young Award winner in the American League. He was 20-8 with an ERA in the mid-2s. He's off to a solid start this year. 2-1 with an ERA just a little bit over 2. A.J. Griffin, a couple years removed from being a 14-game winner with the Oakland A's. He's been injured the last 2 years, but he's making a real effort to show progress as he comes back from those injuries. He's off to a good start as well. This will be his 3rd start of the season.
Yeah, a couple of guys pitching tonight that know how to pitch. They're not hard throwers necessarily, but they can keep people off balance with the best of them. It should be a very good matchup here tonight as the Rangers look to make it 3 in a row over the Astros and 10 straight in this ballpark. Brugnet Odor, Elvis Andrews getting ready to go. We'll have the lineup and the first pitch right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today for incredible deals and see why Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T high-speed internet. Get a deal worth talking about? Get high-speed internet from AT&T. By Budweiser, not backing down since 1878. This Bud's for you. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Well, an absolutely gorgeous evening. A.J. Griffin getting loose to begin things here tonight. And before he throws pitch number 1 of the evening, let's check in with Emily Jones.
Well, after A.J. Griffin had spent a couple of years away from the mound, he is savoring every opportunity he has to get back on the hill. He says he is feeling comfortable not only here in Arlington and among his teammates, but especially alongside his rotation mates.
We have a lot of lefties in this group. Probably the most comparable guy to me would be Colby. We have similar stuff, I would say. But, I mean, you know, at this level, you kind of already know what your game plan is with everyone, and you just kind of pitch to your strengths more than doing things that might not be as comfortable for you.
And A.J. working on a couple of extra days rest today. Jeff Bannister says he hopes he doesn't come out too strong after the extra days rest, guys.
All right, Emily, thank you very much. Well, A.J. on top of the hill, and now he's being told to back off the hill. Jose Altuve stepping in to start things off. We'll get you the Astros lineup in just a second. Altuve steps in, a .310 average. For the second baseman, 5 home runs already and 10 RBI. This is the quickest that he has gotten to 5 home runs in his career. And we are underway with a strike on the outside corner. The crew chief and veteran umpire Bill Welke calling the balls and strikes tonight. There are the numbers for Jose Altuve. And strike 2 from Griffin. Well, A.J. Griffin can, when he has things going, he can dice up that strike zone as well as anybody.
Yeah, it's good to see him getting the ball down in the strike zone with his fastball. That one was intentionally high. In the start against Seattle, he threw a lot of high fastballs. He was really having a hard time getting his fastball down in the strike zone. He battled through it, though, and ended up only giving up 1 earned run in 5 innings.
There's that slow hook, and Altuve backing out of there. That ball almost caught the outside corner, but it's 2-2.
Yeah, the first time you throw that to a hitter, I think you really try to throw a strike because a lot of them are going to take it.
Sure.
It's a surprising pitch the first time you see it.
That ball's ripped down the left field line. It's going to be extra bases into the corner. Altuve into second with a leadoff double.
See, there's kind of an example. He threw the curveball. I'm assuming it might have surprised Altuve a little bit, but it wasn't a strike. He didn't have to swing at it. After the curveball, he was ready for anything and got a fastball to hit and ripped it.
Why don't you see the rest of the lineup, Tom? Tell us what it's all about.
Well, there's Altuve leading off. George Springer is second. Carlos Correa, the shortstop, is batting third. Kobe Rasmus moves up into the cleanoff spot. He's been an on-base percentage guy this year, third in the American League. Tyler White is fifth. The DH tonight is Preston Tucker. Carlos Gomez is the center fielder batting seventh. Luis Valbuena is at third, and batting ninth, the catcher Jason Castro.
And A.J. Griffin going to work now on George Springer. Gets a swinging strike 1. For A.J., this is his third start as a member of the Rangers. Won his initial start, 1-0 with a .327 ERA. Opponents, though, hitting just .214 off of it. And you mentioned that start in Seattle, Tom, of throwing a lot of pitches up in the strike zone. That's one ballpark where you probably can get away with it more so than any other place. Seattle very much a fly ball pitcher's paradise. But that would not be advisable in this ballpark. Although the conditions probably making this play about as fairly as you'll see it. Not much of a breeze tonight, and temperatures comfortably in the mid-70s. Springer, .267 average, 4 home runs, 9 RBI. He had his consecutive games with a home run streak snapped last night. Did not homer for the first time in 4 games. Last 4 games, though, he's Done some damage. 438 for an average. That's ripped down the left field line. That is in for extra bases. Altuve will jog around third and score. Into second with an RBI double is George Springer. And the Astros, after 2 batters, lead 1-0.
Batting third, shortstop, number 1, Carlos Correa.
Somehow last night, the Astros only managed to score 1 run. They lacked the big hit pretty much from the first inning through the 9th inning. But each hitter has gotten a pretty good fastball. That went right down the middle of the plate. Springer hit the ball hard. Altuve almost carbon copies of the same hit. Line drives over third, down the left field line.
Well, 2 hitters, 2 doubles, 1 run across. Nobody out still. Carlos Correa takes strike 1. Correa, 269 for the average with 3 home runs and 7 driven in. Could give you the matchup averages from before, but with Griffin matching up against anybody, you have to go back a couple of years, back before he had the surgery, back to 2013. He would not have faced Correa or Springer. You guys know the lineup that he would not have any experience against. Correa has played well against the Rangers, however. There's that big slow hook. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Springer the lead from second as Griffin checks him. Call strike 3. You got that one to get the inside corner, and Correa just couldn't pull the trigger. That is out number 1. Oh, 1 away. Let's take a look at the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you tonight by the New Braunfels Convention and Visitors Bureau. Outfield, Desmond, DeShields, and Mazzara, left, center, and right. Ryan Rua gets a start at first base this evening with Hanser Alberto at second. Andrus and Beltre on the left side. Brian Holiday again behind the plate. And the 28-year-old San Diegan, A.J. Griffin on the hill. Rasmus takes ball 1. Rasmus, one of the guys that has had some experience against A.J. Griffin. 0 for 7. As A.J.'s kind of worked him over. 3 strikeouts in those 7 at-bats. 2 balls, no strikes. Rasmus at 286. He has 3 home runs. He has been on base primarily because of the 13 walks that he has drawn. That's the top spot in the American League. The on-base percentage up at 440.
Rasmus in his career, coming into the season, was a .313 on-base percentage guy. Guy that swung at a lot of pitches and missed out of the strike zone. Cut that down so far this year. Not swinging at as many pitches. It's really translated into a great start for him. Hitting for a higher average. Huge on-base percentage with all the walks.
Third in the American League right now, Manny Machado and Joe Mauer, the only 2 ahead of him.
Much tougher out right now than he was for most of his career.
Springer able to get back under that tag by Andrus. Griffin doing a pretty good job, though, of keeping Springer from getting that walking lead. You remember Carlos Gomez last night got on second and stole third base in a similar alignment where he had the overshift on. Elvis right behind the bag, almost holding him on. 3 balls and a strike now. Well, Rasmus, the cleanup hitter this evening. Tyler White, the first baseman, is going to be next. That ball's hammered but pulled foul. Well foul and way up in the second deck.
Yeah, this is not a big guy. He's strong and wiry, but he can launch him, boy. He could generate some bat speed and hit the ball a long way.
And you kind of look at him and say, where does that come from? He doesn't have a big, huge swing anymore.
Looks more like a Johnny Damon kind of hitter,
Yeah.
but when he gets a hold of it, he can hit him with anybody.
And he takes the walk. So first and second with one out for Tyler White. A.J. Griffin being reasonably careful with Colby Rasmus. Puts him aboard. Now he sets up the double play potential and going to have a little conference. Ryan Holiday going out there and talking with Elvis and A.J. Griffin. And Cole Hamels, if you could take one thing from last night's start and apply it to A.J. Griffin tonight, would be the luck in the first few innings. Figure out a way to get that done the way Cole Hamels did, and that would be a great gift to pass on.
Well, you just got to get the Astros to run into some outs like they did the first 3 innings. I think some of that had to do, it had to do with what the Astros did on the bases as much as anything.
They had three outs on the bases the first 3 innings.
First 3 innings, yeah, 1 each inning.
Well, Tyler White supplied the only home run last night, the only run for the Astros. His 5th home run of the year, and he had a laser into the bullpen in left center field. Slugging percentage of .720. That's second in the American League. There's that slow hook. Holiday, I don't know whether he was crossed up or just saw something that he wanted to relay to A.J. Griffin. Sometimes a catcher behind the plate he has a good view of what's going on when the pitcher gets the sign, starts into his stretch, and comes set. He can see what a runner's doing. He can hear what's going on at home plate. So, maybe he saw something, and maybe Brian saw something that he wanted to make A.J. Griffin aware of very quickly. Right center field, Mazzara coming on, and he makes the catch knee high. Good jump on the ball, and again, those long legs covering a lot of ground in a hurry. That's out number 2.
Yeah, Tyler White, we've seen him only for 3 games, but he looks like he's an offensive force. We've seen him pull the ball with authority, and that was a pretty good slider, down, away, and he just went with the pitch and lined it nicely into right field. Fortunately, Nomar was right there on the run to make the play. Tyler White tied for 2nd in home runs this year.
Yeah.
There's a little home run hitter.
Doing a little scouting. Yeah, he's scouting that food right there. Give you a report. Here, I'll share some with you. Preston Tucker, tonight's designated hitter, takes an off-speed pitch for strike 1. Tucker, we saw last night as a pinch hitter. He had a couple of at-bats the night before. .241 average overall, a couple of home runs, 3 driven in. Broken bat roller up to first. Rua right at the bag, and the damage limited. Nice job by A.J. Griffin. After the first 2 men had doubles. Played a half an inning at Globe Life Park. The Astros won. The Rangers coming up. 1-0. Tom Greaves going to tell you about the Southwest Airlines Rangers batting order.
Well, we'll start with Delino DeShields again, and again be followed by Nomar Mazara in right field. Adrian Beltre is third. He's tied for 8th with 11 RBIs in the American League. Prince Fielder is 4th. Ian Desmond is 5th. Elvis Andrus is the shortstop. Ryan Rua is the first baseman. Brian Holiday is the catcher. And getting the start tonight at second base is Hanser Alberto.
And that lineup is charged with facing the reigning Cy Young Award winner, Dallas Keuchel, the 28-year-old left-hander from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Also out of University of Arkansas. Fastball, slider, and changeup, and we'll make it real simple. He's really good. Rangers have their hands full, although in this ballpark they have had better than average success against him. Last year, Keuchel was roughed up here in his last start. The Rangers going down the wire. And Keuchel, the Gold Glove winner also, and he showed you why. Quick reactions. DeShields is out, one gone. We'll take a look at the defense behind him. It's presented to you tonight by T-Mobile. Rasmus in left field, Gomez in center, and Springer in right. A very good outfield. White at first, Altuve and Correa up the middle. Valbuena gets the start at third, and Jason Castro again behind the plate. The one gone here is Nomar Mazara. Did not get on base last night for the first time in his major league career. Now, granted, it's only been 9 games, but that's significant. Keuchel fires, strike 2. Mazara without a hit in the last 2 ball games. Still, that average tied for the top spot on the Ranger club at 364. Keuchel again fielding his position, 2 gone. And Dallas Keuchel, for whatever reason, I know it's keeping the ball off the good part of the bat, gets more assists as a pitcher than anybody else in the game.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stat. He probably gets to some balls that other pitchers wouldn't get to, makes plays that they wouldn't make. He gets a lot of ground balls. First 2 balls of the game have been hit back to him. Not tough plays, not hard hit balls.
Well, Adrian Beltre, a couple of hits last night. Beltre now at 304 for the season. 2 home runs, 11 RBI for the Ranger third sacker. Two 2-0. Beltre against the Astros has really had good success. 358 against Houston starting in 2012. But he has not had a lot of success against Dallas Keuchel, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. A 225 hitter, just 9 hits and 40 at bats. One of those, however, a home run. Keuchel coming off 8 shutout innings last time against Detroit. Three and 1 now, the count to Beltre. Adrian with 2 outs trying to get aboard. Prince Fielder, the Ranger DH, getting cleanup tonight in the on-deck circle. Up the middle, Correa can't get it. It's into center field.
That's another ground ball up the middle. This one was hit a little harder and found a hole.
Yeah, Keuchel, in general, doesn't walk many. He had a 5-walk game in his first outing, but he has changed that around a bit. Well, 1 on, 2 out. Here's Prince. Mentioned that Fielder last year, 313 average against Keuchel. Had that home run in the ball game that they lit up Dallas Keuchel last year in September here. A 280 average for his career against Keuchel. Into center field. That's a base hit. Beltre will stop at second. So back-to-back two-out singles. And Ian Desmond coming up. Our TXU Energy power player to watch. Prince Fielder, average this season with nobody on base, just 0.48. Runners on, 257. Runners in scoring position. And he not only turns it up a notch, he flips it into high, 313.
If those are your three numbers for those three categories, he's got them in the exact order you want them.
Yeah. A 2-on with 2 out. Here's Ian Desmond. That ball hit well to right center field. It is deep up the alley. Goodbye.
How's that for a two-out rally? Two tappers back to the mound, facing last year's Cy Young Award winner. Base hit, high fastball out over the plate. 3 runs on the board. Rangers have been very good with men in scoring position, getting the key hits, having big innings. And here's another one right off the bat. An unlikely 3-run inning with 2 outs and nobody on against Dallas Keuchel.
Ian Desmond is now 2 for 3 against Dallas Keuchel with 4 RBI and a home run. So 3-1 as the Rangers turn it around, courtesy of Ian Desmond's first home run in a Ranger uniform.
Might have been a cutter, I'm not exactly sure. Whatever it was, Ian didn't watch it. He jumped on it.
Well, you've seen Ian Desmond when he goes up to the plate, he's ready to swing the bat. He does not like to wait around. So that good sound from a hitter's standpoint. Into the Ranger bullpen, and just like that turns the game around to make a 3-1 Ranger lead. Here's Elvis.
Sir Alberto's pumped up. I love to see guys, teammates get just as excited for their teammates as they do for themselves. Rangers have had a lot of guys like that over the years.
And the ball foul tipped. It is a strikeout. It was not foul tipped. So Elvis is gone, but the damage done with 2 outs. Beltre and Fielder on board on singles. Ian Desmond going oppo with the 3-run jack. 3-1 Rangers. American League home run. And as a member of the Rangers, he gets them on top. A big blast from the left fielder's bat. Now A.J. Griffin out to the hill, and he has a 3-1 advantage with which to work. Bottom third of the Astros order would be Carlos Gomez, Luis Valbuena, and Jason Castro. 1 ball and 1 strike. So A.J. Griffin really did a good job in that first inning after giving up back-to-back doubles to Altuve and Springer. Was able to not have any further damage. A 1-run inning. And, well, what a critical way to start that. And Beltre got it started with 2 outs.
Adrian appreciates that swing going down to 1 knee. Watch. Adrian's got to be sitting out there. That's the second guy this year I've seen do that. I'm so proud that they've emulated my swing.
Kind of like that one too. Just do a pirouette as you take that
Not
call.
quite ready
strike.
for the fastball after that curveball.
And as Luis Valbuena comes up, let's welcome in Jim Knox. Knoxing?
I appreciate it, Buzz. Great night for baseball. We got a senior class here from, where are you guys from? La Jolla, Texas. That's in the Valley, right? Is Jimmy Carter early college high school senior trip? How many hours did it take on the bus ride?
9 hours.
9 hours, but it's worth it, right?
Yeah, we love the Rangers.
There we go. Okay, you guys enjoy the game. Appreciate you coming. The whole senior class is here, Buzz.
All right, Doxy. 9-hour bus trip. That's like playing in the minor leagues, huh?
Gotta love the Rangers to take a 9-hour bus ride.
Well, Valbuena, who came on as a pinch hitter last night, had a 9th inning single. Getting the start here tonight. He has started 11 of the 15 games the Astros have played coming into tonight. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Griffin with a strikeout of Gomez, his 2nd strikeout of the night. Two and 2. The Astros come into play at 5-7, or 5-10, excuse me, for the year. They are in 5th place, 4 games behind the division-leading Rangers. The Astros not able to put it together quite yet. Although they've run into a Ranger ball club in this ballpark that kind of has that mojo going their way. A.J. Hinch's club. George Springer, one of their bright young stars. 3-2 to Valbuena. Valbuena hitting 8th to be followed by the catcher, Jason Castro. And we'll try the 3-2 again.
Well, Valbuena's way out in front of his fastball. The ball he pulled fouled on the right field line, that last pitch. Both fastballs, and he was waving at them like they were changeups.
Now there's something, if we didn't have that statistic, I would have thought Valbuena is one of those guys that go up there and swinging right from the moment he walked in the batter's box. But that would tell you he's a relatively patient hitter. There's one of the cases, Tom, that the new age analytics belying what I would have thought what my eyes told me.
There you go.
Another foul ball.
He barely ticked the last 2 changeups. Kind of hanging tough. Valbuena had a bunch of home runs last year. I think it was 25 home runs last year.
Yeah. By far his most home runs at the big league level. Going the other way, and that's going to twist out of play. Here's a guy who played in Wrigley Field for half his games just before he came down to the Astros. And Wrigley noted as a pretty good home run ballpark. Another 3-2 on the way. Right in the proper spot. All that in. Answer Alberto. Started to jump. No,
he was ready to.
I don't need to.
He didn't know if he was going to have to jump or not. He looked like Valbuena, like he hooked that ball. Had a little top spin on it. It wasn't a ball that was going to carry over his head. It was kind of coming back down toward him. Tough at bat for Valbuena. He hung tough, fouled a lot of balls off. Hit the ball hard. Nothing to show for it. And pretty good at bat for AJ. Had to throw 4, 5, 6 straight strikes.
Yep. Kept pumping him in and got the desired result. Jason Castro fouling that pitch off for strike one. Castro off to a very slow start, 143 the average, without a home run. Against Griffin, and again, we have to go back to 2013 for the last matchups. 333 average. Good fastball into the knees. Rangers captain making some new friends out there. Nothing in 2 to Castro. Curveball, see you later. He was locked up completely, and that's a 1-2-3 inning, so a couple of strikeouts for A.J. Griffin. 1.5 in the books. Rangers 3, Astros 1. Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today for incredible deals and see why Ford is the best in Texas. Now Dallas Keuchel back to the hill. Ryan Rua starting things off for the Rangers. Texas on top by a 3-1 count. Rua batting 7th against the left-hander tonight. Brian Holiday and Hanser Alberto to follow. Off the end of the bat, looped into right field for a base hit, and Ryan Rua stays hot. He has been swinging the bat well ever since the first day of spring training, and it just continues for him in his first at bat here tonight.
He's been aggressive. Looked like a sinker down and away. Slightly off the plate. Right, has good power the opposite way. Line drive hitter. Gets the Rangers started here in the second inning, trying to keep it going against Dallas Keuchel.
So Rua now with hits in 4 of his last 5 ball games. Aboard to start off the inning. Here's Brian Holiday. Holiday catching for the 2nd consecutive night. And he lines one to center field. That is down in front of Gomez. Rua stops at second. Well, similar to the first inning when the Rangers had back-to-back 2-out singles and then the home run by Desmond. Now back-to-back singles lead off the second inning and set up Hanser Alberto. And let's go down and check in with Emily Jones.
Well, guys, obviously some good karma there for Brian Holiday. He changed his walk-up music to honor Prince, playing a little red Corvette as he walked up to the plate in honor of Prince's memory, who passed away today, guys.
Thank you, Em. Appreciate that information. Hanser around the bunt. It's a good one. Keuchel thought about third, but Rua got a good jump. And that's no mean feat right there, to get a bunt down and not have Keuchel have a play at third. Excellent field, as we talked about. A good job by Alberto.
Yeah, that one didn't roll to Keuchel. He had to come get it. It was a little kind of a blooper that stopped dead. And so Keuchel has to come get it. He looks, he wants to go to third, but he had to go to first with it. Good job by Hanser.
Alberto gets the runners to second and third with just one out. Brings up Delino to Shields. And it also brings the Astro infield all the way in. DeShields, a comebacker to Keuchel his first time. 1 ball, no strikes. Delino with a home run and 3 driven in. Would love to put some extra slots in that RBI category at least. Wouldn't mind putting another home run in there either, but.
Let's see how Keuchel pitches to him. First base open, a young left-hand hitter on deck.
Got that cut fastball in on him. Zara in that on-deck circle. 1-1. Delino trying to shake off the effects of that foul ball off the foot. With runners in scoring position, Rangers hitting well, Delino to Shields hitting well. 4 for 12. He's got an opportunity here with runners at second and third. Correa backing up, falls down as he catches it, and just does get Delino at first. In to score is Rua. And Delino to Shields gets an RBI by knocking the shortstop over with that ground ball.
That ball was hit so hard he couldn't stand up. Yep. Well, the Rangers got a break there. Correa playing in on a hard hit ball. Would have had a play at the plate. Fortunately, the play ended up being at first, and the Rangers pick up a run. Waited for the hop, and that was not a simple hop to make the play on either. So he played the hop well, but lost his balance, and the Rangers pick up a run.
Boy, Rua, good break from third, too. So it is a 4-1 Ranger lead. They have scored in each of the first 2 innings. Holiday out at second. Nomar Mazara. Down in the count 0-1. Mazara tapped out right in front of home plate his first time up. Mazara up among the rookie leaders in the American League and most offensive categories. He's first in runs with 6 scored. 0-2. Second in multi-hit games. He's had 4 of them. Third in hits with 12. Fourth in total bases. You remember, he was a week late getting started. He didn't get called up till the 10th of April. And he has gone on strikes. Go down to first, and that will do it. But the Rangers add on. They get a run on 2 hits and lead 1 after 2. It's now the Rangers 4 and the Astros 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. to the hill, and I'd like to remind you that we got some good promotions coming up out here at Globe Life Park. Monday through Wednesday against the Yankees. You have $35 tickets in the Cholula all-you-can-eat porch. Just use the online coupon code HUNGRY, and you can grab those seats and come on out here and stuff yourself and watch some great baseball as the Yankees make their only visit to Globe Life Park this year. Jose Altuve starting things off. Second time up, Altuve laced one into the corner for a double. His first time came around to score on the double by George Springer. And AJ pumping in strikes.
Yeah, he thrown a lot more strikes than he did against Seattle. He's thrown a lot of pitches, but a good strike to ball ratio, 2-to-1. 30 strikes, 15 balls, mixing up his pitches pretty well.
Boy, and that one didn't miss by much.
That could have been. He made the pitch he was trying to make. He just didn't get the call.
Well, AJ, as you can see on a little box there, 46 pitches under his belt. There's that slow hook. And the count now has gone full. So Altuve leading off the third inning. George Springer will follow. Rangers with a 4-1 advantage. AJ Griffin trying to get the pesky Jose Altuve. It was a pretty sure-handed Elvis Andrews. Throw right on the money. 1 out. Good pitch there to get the ground out. And before George Springer comes up, let's check in again with Emily Jones. Em?
Okay, so fellas, always fun, new, exciting things at the concession stands here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. This is the Buffalo Chicken Donut Skewer. So here you've got, some
Look
buffalo
at
chicken and some donuts. And so the idea is to have the little, spicy and then a little bit of sweet, so you can take just a bite of the. I was gonna wait until you guys took the camera off of me before I tried to eat it.
It does.
Yeah, so
you can actually eat that without touching it with your hands. Very nice.
So a buffalo chicken, and then
try to get
some
a
sugar on my
mouthful of each.
lips. So if you mix the two.
Can you order that with the donuts on top first?
Yes.
Is that a preferable order?
It absolutely is. But if you go from top to bottom, which is what I recommend, you can get a little bit of everything. I highly recommend it.
We'll come back.
Nothing against the flaming hot Cheeto hot dog thing I sampled a couple weeks ago. This is way higher on my list.
Well, the look on your face eating that one is a lot better than the one that was on your face when you're having the flaming Doritos.
It's hard for me to hide my true feelings, guys.
We'll come back in the fourth inning and see if he finished it. Watching AJ throw his fastball. His fastball, he's had better command of it today, a little bit better velocity too. He's reached 91 a couple of times, 90 a bunch of times. So as he gets more starts, gets more comfortable, hasn't pitched in a couple of years, starting to get back to what he was a couple of years ago.
There's that slow curveball. That's going to stay in the ballpark, and Ian Desmond will take care of it. Springer, even though he tried to time that as well as he could, still
missed
it. Front to get the out.
He missed it by just enough to stay in the ballpark.
Now, before Carlos Correa steps in, let's send it over to Aaron Hardigan for a Chevy game break. All right, Aaron, thank you. Now 2 up, 2 away here. 7 straight now sent down by AJ Griffin. And he misses low and outside to Carlos Correa. 1 ball and 1 strike. Correa called out on strikes back in the first inning. And that was the turnaround at bat for AJ Griffin. Beltre on the run from down under. Right there, and he got him. Another 1, 2, 3 inning. 8 straight retired by Griffin and the Rangers. 2.5 in the books. Rangers leading 4-1. Next homestand, and on Friday, April 29th, we'll have our next post-game fireworks show. Angels and Rangers in that night, and fans using the online coupon code FIREWORKS can get tickets for just $14. Visit TexasRangers.com to get your tickets for a Friday night tradition. Adrian Beltre, Prince fielder Ian Desmond, who did the damage in that first inning, looking to start things off here in the third against Dallas Keuchel. Beltre, a single, a run scored, now a .316 average for Adrian. And Beltre also has extended his hitting streak to 4 consecutive games. That's a good breaking ball from Keuchel, and 0-2 now. Well, the Rangers have 4 base hits against Keuchel, and they've been able to bunch them. 3 hits in the first with 2 outs, capped off by Ian Desmond's 3-run home run, then back-to-back singles to start the second. A sacrifice and an infield ground out for another run. Checking his swing and then picking the ball up, handing it to Jason Castro. He can do it all. He can umpire from where he is and tell the first base umpire when to give some help. And here, I'll play ball boy and get that thing back to you. Valbuena across the diamond, a little bit high, but staying on the bag. Tyler White, 1 gone. Next will be Prince fielder. Fielder shot a single into center field his first time up. Prince now starting to climb fairly steadily. He's up to 193 with the batting average. I told you about his ability to hit with runners in scoring position, because 5 out of his 10 hits have been in those situations. One ball and 1 strike. Prince with that base hit his first time up, now has hit in 4 straight games. Exactly 1 hit in all 4 of them so far tonight. 2-1 the count.
Keuchel's wondering where that pitch was.
Yeah, Bill Welke, if I remember correctly, I didn't look at the charts today, but I believe he's much more of a hitter's umpire. He won't give the pitcher much on either corner. Not that that's bad. It doesn't make him a bad person.
I like him a lot.
And he's a very good umpire. The 2-2 pitch. Rasmus has a play in left field. 2 gone. Keuchel now has retired 6 straight hitters after the 2 singles to start off the second. And here's Ian Desmond. AT&T high-speed internet replay for you will take you back to the first pitch to Desmond last time up. Up and away, and he put it up and away. His first Ranger home run, a 3-run blast. And that made the first inning go in the favor of the Rangers. He lines this one in the gap in left center. That is going to the wall. Desmond can run for a while. He is going to stop at second as Gomez got to it pretty quickly. But Ian Desmond now a home run and a double. Well, we said he'd get going. He said he would get going. And I believe you could say he's getting going.
He roped both those balls. Right center and left center. Cut fastball right down the middle of the plate. Kind of like the pitch he got last time up. Carlos Gomez has a gun, boy. He picks this ball up and throws it all the way to third base on a hop. 2 outs, though. It doesn't make any sense to try to get to third. You want to stay at second. Don't be the last out at third base and see if Elvis can drive you in. Rangers going to try to score in their 3rd straight inning with a base hit right here.
Well, this has been one of the best in these situations this year. Hitting .381 in his last 12 ball games with runners in scoring position. He's hitting .462. That's good for 7th in the American League. And he's got Ian Desmond out there at second base. 1 ball and 1 strike. Elvis has not had a lot of success against Keuchel. 9 for 41 coming in. That's a .220 average. But the way Elvis is going right now, the matchups really don't tell you about what might happen in this at bat or the other at bats in this game against Keuchel, because Elvis is swinging the bat much better. The left field, Rasmus in a hurry, dives, it's by him. It's going to roll for a while. Desmond scores. Elvis going for 3 as Gomez backs him up, and Elvis in standing. An RBI triple. The Rangers lead it 5-1, and another hit with a runner in scoring position for Andrews.
Well, the Astros tend to play shallow in the outfield, and it looked like it was going to pay off because Rasmus got a pretty good jump on the ball. It looked like he might get to it with the dive, but he either came up a little short or missed. Let's see. I think the ball was even with his glove. He just had the glove in the wrong place, which is understandable when you're on the dead run trying to dive and make a play like that. Great try by Rasmus, but he wasn't able to come up with it.
Now the Rangers 5 runs here in the first 3 innings. I don't think Adrian's going to have any quibble with how Elvis ran out on that time. He knew it was going to be trouble, and Elvis turned it on. The Rangers 5 runs on 7 hits with 2 outs here in the 3rd inning.
Well, what a difference between this April and last April offensively. There were so many. Rangers went 7-14 in April last year. Couldn't buy a hit when they needed it with men on base, men in scoring position. And this April, they're playing much better overall, and they're getting a lot of hits when they want them.
Sure are.
A lot of big innings.
Well, Jeff Anderson's ball club leading the West by a game over Oakland, who's playing very well. But the Rangers playing good, solid baseball. The starting pitching is among the best in baseball, as Ryan Rua takes it in the dirt. And they're making the runs stand up. Yesterday would be evidence of that. Last 2 times out at Globe Life Park have not been kind to Dallas Keuchel. 14 earned runs in just 8 in the 3rd innings.
And last September 16th, he pitched 4 2/3, gave up 11 hits and 9 runs. His start against the Rangers before that was the 7-inning shutout, no walk, 13 strikeout game, but that was in Houston. He had another game against the Rangers where he struck out 10.
Yep.
That was in Houston as well. 15-0 at home last year.
If I remember right, that game in September here were highs for he's ever given up in hits and runs in a start. 11 and 9 runs. And he gets a strikeout of Rua that closes out the 3rd inning, but the Rangers add on. They get a double and a triple, leave a runner. We'll go to the 4th inning. It's the Rangers 5 and the Astros 1. Series. Angels coming in the 29th, 30th, 31st. On Saturday the 30th, it's Captain and Friends Mascot Weekend. The first 7,500 kids 13 and under get a Rangers Captain t-shirt jersey. That's presented by Fanatics. You can get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. So you got the jersey shirts on Saturday, and you got fireworks on Friday, and a lot of good baseball with the Angels in town. Colby Rasmus drew a walk in the first inning. Leading off here in the fourth. Count evens at a ball and a strike. Rasmus with his 13th walk of the year, or 14th walk of the year, excuse me. That ball is ripped to right field and deep. Mazzara is going to stop, and look, it's gone. Over the Ranger bullpen into the seats. Rasmus with his 4th home run of the year. It's a 5-2 Ranger lead.
Yeah, that changeup didn't fool Rasmus. He was right on that. We talked about how far he could hit a ball, the power that he has being able to put a charge in it. And there's a good example. Over the Ranger bullpen. Changeup stayed up, and he timed it well.
Now Tyler White takes that first pitch up and away for ball 1. White hit a line drive to right field, but right at Nomar Mazzara his first time up.
In 2013, when AJ won 14 games, had a nice ERA in the mid-3s, he gave up a lot of home runs. Most of them were probably solo shots. He doesn't shy away from throwing strikes, and occasionally it'll mean he'll give up the long ball.
Yeah, 36, and that was pitching with the Oakland A's too, in Oakland, which is a tough place to have home runs hit against you. But that's, you know, as you said, Tom, most of them were solo shots probably, and that's what's important.
Yeah, there's been some pretty good pitchers that give up a lot of home runs. Remember the year Bert Blyleven had? He gave up 50, I think.
Yeah.
He went to the Hall of Fame.
Fergie Jenkins.
Yeah.
Used to give up a lot.
Well, I remember Fergie one time. See if Adrian makes this play. I'm betting on him. Against, I don't know, you might have been with Kansas City. He beat Kansas City 5-4. Gave up, I think, 3 home runs to Tony Salita and 1 to someone else. 4 solo home runs and won the game 5-4.
Yep, I remember that. And let's check in with Jim Knox.
All right, Buzz. Hey, this was the scene before the game. The Fox Sports Fan Express rolling in from the great city, Waco, Texas. Yes, on hand. Plenty of listeners from ESPN Central Texas. Come armed with signs. Had a great bus ride. Now, Stacey Sadler, tell me about the signs.
This sign right here is representing Tony Beasley. We love him. The Rangers love their coach. We're all about supporting against cancer. I'm just like so proud. I love my coach. The Rangers love their coach. Cancer sucks. Let's go Rangers.
There we go. Okay, good to have you here. Already some action going down on the field. Buzz, back to you.
All right, Knoxy, thank you. Now Preston Tucker lined a double into the right field corner, so he is aboard with 1 out.
It looked like he had an off-speed pitch as well. Kind of had a one-armed swing, but got the good part of the bat on it. That's another changeup.
Yep.
Same spot almost that Rasmus had when Rasmus launched one.
Carlos Gomez called out on strikes as he led off the second inning. Gomez, as you can see now, hitting in an even 200. As Tucker out there at second base, 1 out. 2 balls, no strikes. Carlos Gomez, if nothing else, has that doubles swing going. 4 of his 9 hits have been 2-baggers. Two and 1. He wasn't trying to hit a double there. Trying to hit in the upper deck. back behind Griffin. And right to Hanser Alberto, who throws him out. On to third goes Preston Tucker. Now, if A.J. had come up with that one, that would have been a spectacular play.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could have happened, well, he could have gotten lucky and caught it, I guess. The other thing that could have happened is he deflected it.
Yeah.
It was going to be an easy out. But it could have hit his elbow and maybe hurt him or deflected and resulted in a base hit. Fortunately, he might have made a little contact. Did he touch that ball? Might have.
We'll have to ask the official scorer if he gets an assist on that.
Looked like it changed direction, but not sure on that.
In any event, there are 2 outs. Luis Valbuena has a count of 1 ball and no strikes. Good pitch to the outside corner. Valbuena hit a sinking line drive right to Hanser Alberto, the Rangers' second baseman. And this up in the air to left field. Desmond circling around underneath it, and that'll do it. So the leadoff home run by Colby Rasmus, the only damage by the Astros. A run on 2 hits, 1 left after 3.5, 5-2 Rangers.
The Astros by a score of 5-2 as we head to the bottom of the 4th here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. And we want to tell you about a very special offer when the Yankees come to town. April 25th through the 27th, Fox Sports Southwest inviting you to pay the date on the 25th and the 26th. So here's the deal. You get 2 Upper Reserve tickets for $25 on April 25th or 2 Upper Reserve tickets for $26 on the 26th. Use the online code FSSW when you visit TexasRangers.com/specials to redeem this offer. You see what they did there, guys? 2 Upper Reserve tickets for $25 on the 25th and $26 on the 26th. Cue the hit by Brian Holiday.
Now I get it, Em. Thanks for explaining it to us 2 old guys up here.
I just wanted to make sure you guys.
You know your audience.
And Brian Holiday, perfect timing for Holiday, gets his second hit, so he gets 2 for the price of 1, right? Another leadoff single.
Well, the Rangers have scored in every inning. Trying to make it 4 straight innings here against Keuchel.
And Hanser Alberto, according to the appeal down to first base umpire DJ Rayburn, went around. So that is strike 1. Hanser had a sacrifice bunt back in the second inning, set up the run-scoring ground out by Delano Shields. One ball and 1 strike. Alberto 1 for 11 this year. This is his 4th start. Getting the start at second base tonight, giving Rougned Odor a little bit of a breather. The 1-1 pitch coming from Keuchel. The hit and run is on, and Holiday is in safely, and he's up and going to third. And Holiday doing it all. He's throwing out opposing base runners, getting base hits, stealing bases. Next thing you know, he'll be up taking tickets.
Oh, they're sending him back.
Must have had interference again, huh?
I don't know. It's a break for the Astros.
Yep. Bill Wilkie's given the.
Let's see.
Well,
the bat came back and hit him in the left shoulder. So I guess technically that's the call, although watching him throw, it didn't have much to do with it. He had a clear shot to second base. Just made a bad throw. That didn't hit him very hard.
Sure didn't. But erase all that stuff. Stolen base, the error and throw.
And a man on third base and no outs.
Well, Holiday back to first. 1-2 the count to Alberto. That was in the dirt. Holiday wide of the bag is going to be picked off. Well, you go from being at third 1 pitch later to being caught off base at first.
That's one of those balls in the dirt. We saw Ian Desmond take second base on one just the other night. The minute it hit the dirt, he was gone. I think Brian was thinking about doing the same thing. Ball bounces. Then he sees how quickly Castro picks it up, knows he can't get to second. Unfortunately, he was too far off to get back to first.
And Alberto down swinging. 2 gone. Yeah, and that's one of those ones that you sit at home and say, oh, what a stupid play that was. That's part of the deal about being aggressive. Part of the deal about anticipating balls in the dirt is you almost have to take a chance sometimes and assume the ball's not going to be caught cleanly or stay close to the catcher. And if you make that break and the catcher comes up with it somehow, you're hung out to dry. But you'd rather have a mistake trying to be aggressive than going 90 feet at a time. Now, Delino 0 for 2 tonight, but he has an RBI. His RBI came in the second on a ground ball to short.
Keuchel going to his changeup this inning. Threw a bunch of them to Alberto. There's another one.
Good look from our RF camera that roams around Globe Life Park in Arlington, giving you all kinds of views from different angles. 1-2 to the Shields. That ball's hit well to center. Retreating Gomez with room in front of the track, and that'll do it. Rangers get a hit, but nobody left, and we finish 4 at Globe Life Park. It's the Rangers 5, the Astros 2 on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. The Ranger fans wearing their red. And appropriately, stars on the front. Congratulations to the Dallas Stars. The Rangers travel party honoring the Stars and Mavericks playoff runs, as they have chosen to wear supportive gear on the trip. Leaving here tonight after the ball game, either a Mavs or a Stars jersey or top or whatever. Desmond cruising to his left. Handles that fly ball off the bat of Jason Castro, one away. Well, Desmond's been relatively busy out there. One out, now back to the top of the order. And Jose Altuve coming up. Altuve has doubled and scored and grounded to short. A.J. Griffin, and no surprise that the 28-year-old right-hander is working in the fifth inning here tonight. He has a streak of 30 straight starts coming into this evening. He has completed at least 5 innings. And say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, there aren't too many guys that have that kind of a streak going that are active. Look down the list of people. It's a short list. You have Jake Arrieta, who, by the way, has a no-hitter going. He has 40 consecutive starts. Madison Bumgarner with 33 and David Price with 31. And that's it. And you get A.J. Griffin down there with 30. Two balls and a strike. Altuve, a .317 average, awaits the pitch. 3-1.
Here's where you have to be careful to Altuve. Fastball count, leadoff hitter. Leadoff hitter in name only, because he's got the power of a guy hitting in the middle of the lineup. Pitch.
A strike on
back. That was not a pitcher's call. That was a strike.
Altuve very quickly apologizing to Bill Welke as he picked up his bat.
Yeah, that pitch last year, he wouldn't have been going toward first base. He would have been swinging at it. He's not swinging as many pitches this year.
Third time that he's had a 3-2 count on him. And that one just outside for ball 4.
Could have been strike 3 too. Could easily have been strike 3. I can't believe he took that ball, based on what we've seen in the past. But just like with Rasmus, both of these guys seem to have made a concerted effort, maybe in the off season, maybe in spring training, with a plan to be a little more selective at the plate. Altuve's still doing the exact same things he's done before, only hitting for more power. And Rasmus really upped his on-base percentage. His average is better than it's been. Still early in the season, but the feedback from what appears to be an attempt on both of their parts to be more selective at the plate, paying pretty good dividends for him.
Well, George Springer tonight has doubled in a run and flied to left field. Nothing in one.
I would not throw Springer a fastball on the first pitch.
No. Matter of fact, you can say that for a lot of guys in this lineup. A lot of them would like to jump on that first fastball, they see. Altuve, the major league leader in steals. He has 7 of them. Oh, 1-1 to Springer. That RBI for Springer in the first, his 10th of the year. He waited on that one pretty well, but fouled it back. 0-2. Good time for a double play, isn't it?
We haven't had a traditional double play lately. We've had a strike him out, throw him out. We've had a fly ball to the outfield. Base runners not tagging up, going to the next base, getting doubled off, but not a regular double play. Ooh, that was close. That was close. I'd like to see the replay of that one. Oh, here it is. I don't know about that. That's an impossible one for an umpire to call.
A ball and 2 strikes. Two and 2 now. And speaking of double plays, how about being the league leader? Rangers have turned 23 of them this year, 3 more than the Tigers. George Springer missed a good deal of last year, still put up some great numbers. He off to a terrific start, still a young man that one of the bright stars of this young Houston ball club. That's a pop foul. We back into the seats. And there was a fastball to a pretty good fastball hitter, and he was late on it after all the slow stuff. Well, that's the idea that a guy like A.J. Griffin or Dallas Keuchel, very rarely do you see 2 pitches the same speed back to back. And very rarely 2 pitches that move in a similar fashion that are the same speed. Got him on the fist that time. A.J. Griffin with the pitch count looking like this. 24 in the first inning. That was the long inning. Since then, pretty consistent. 18, 14, 15, 15. And double play would help things out here. Just foul. Fortunately, that was foul because that would have been a tough turn. Altuve had gotten a good break on the ball. Even for Adrian Beltre, that would have been a tough turn.
Yeah, I think that in that one, Buzz, the only play was going to be at first base. Wouldn't have been any play at second.
Ryan Holiday flashing the signs out. A.J. Griffin has the one he wants. Got him swinging.
Good fastball, good location with it, down and away.
That's the 3rd strikeout for Griffin tonight. 2 away, and Carlos Correa coming up.
See where the catcher sets up, and the ball goes right exactly in his glove, right in the lower section of the strike zone.
But again, that's a function of being able to mix your pitches, throw enough strikes with other pitches to keep a guy off the fastball, and then spotting it up in a perfect position. Correa caught looking at a 3rd strike back in the 1st. Altuve at first, 2 outs. Up the middle, but right to Hanser Alberto. Well, that'll do it. Altuve left stranded. We played half the ball game tonight. It's the Rangers 5 and the Astros 2 on Fox Sports Southwest. Rangers play the final game of a 3-game set against those Angels. And the first 7,500 kids, 13 and younger, get a Prince Fielder wiffle ball bat. That's a great set for the kids. It's brought to you by McDonald's. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS if you prefer. A 5-2 Ranger advantage. 5th inning, Nomar Mazara starting things off. Adrian Beltre, Prince Fielder to follow. Rangers have done a pretty good job of getting on top of Dallas Keuchel and staying there. They have made it tough on him each inning. Had at least one hit in each inning. They scored at least one run in each of the first 3.
Yeah, probably would have scored in the 4th without that interference call on Alberto where he came through in his backswing.
And Omar Mazara showing you the kind of hitter he is. Into the gap in right center. Springer with a dive. Mazara, though, good enough speed to leg it into a leadoff double.
Well, he's seen a lot of pitches. Tapper back to the mound. He struck out on an off-speed pitch the 2nd time up. 3rd time up, he took a strike, then hit one into the shift hard enough, split the outfielders for a double. On a slider down in the strike zone, put a nice smooth swing on it. Springer cuts it off, but can't hold him to a single.
That's a pretty nice piece of hitting for a 20-year-old.
Sure is.
Or a 30-year-old, or a 40-year-old.
Yeah, for anybody.
So, leadoff man in scoring position. Here's Adrian Beltre. Ball 1. And again, the Rangers put pressure on Keuchel right away. That's imperative. You get a guy like this that has the ability to turn things around quickly. And we're talking about Dallas Keuchel. You don't want to let up on him. You want to do it exactly what the Rangers have been doing. That's get people on in every inning. They've had at least one hit now in 5 straight innings. Beltre has one of those hits. He scored the first run after singling back in the 1st. Nomar Mazara out at 2nd. Rangers now with 9 hits tonight. One and 2. Beltre hitting at .310 as he faces Keuchel. Check swing on that ball in the dirt. Trying to camouflage that ball from Jason Castro. Dancing all around it. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Getting out of the way.
Yeah. The 2-2. Pulled in the hole. It's through for a base hit. Mazara had to hold up, so he will advance only to 3rd. But Beltre with his 2nd hit of the night. And the Rangers with runners at the corners, nobody out, and Prince Fielder coming up. And before Prince steps in, let's send it over to Aaron Hardigan for a Chevy game break. All right, Aaron, thank you. Boy, he is on some kind of roll. Jake Arrieta, last year's Cy Young Award winner in the National League. And
every time I've watched him on TV this year, it looks like he should throw a no-hitter every time.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone ever gets a hit off him. Got a mid-90s sinking fastball that he can throw at the bottom of the strike zone for a strike anytime he wants. He's got an unhittable breaking ball. And I see that he's throwing a no-hitter. Say, yeah, what's new? Guy's unbelievable. A bunch of really good frontline starting pitchers. I don't know that any of them are throwing the ball better than he is.
No,
over the last year and beginning of this year.
Well, certainly not since the All-Star break last year. The second half of last year, he had a
what was his ERA under 1?
0.82 in the second half of the season. And what I saw the clips of that no-hitter he threw against the Dodgers. You couldn't. You're right. You couldn't hit him. It was like he had power on the ball after it left his hand. It made it dance around like I've never seen guys do. 2-1 to Prince. So Fielder trying to add on to the Ranger lead. Fielder, third in the American League with those 13 RBI. His teammate Ruben Odor tied with him, and there's number 14 down at third base. That would be Nomar Mazara. 2-1 pitch coming from Keuchel. That evens the count. You remember last night, Rangers loaded the bases with nobody out, were not able to score, and you worried at that time in a one-run ball game if that was going to cost them, and unfortunately it didn't. That was in the 8th inning last night. That's going to get a run home. Altuve goes to second. They get one. That's all they will get. Fielder gets the RBI. Mazara scores. The Ranger lead now is 6-2.
That was some smart hitting right there, Buzz. Don't hit it hard enough to get into a double play. Prince doing what he does, and that's coming up with an RBI situation.
Yep.
One way or another, getting that run in.
That's exactly right, and that's honestly in that situation, all he cared about was getting a run in.
Yep, make some contact.
You know, preferably all three of them. That would have been great, but he got the one, and that was important. Now here's a guy who's been swinging the bat tonight as well as he probably has swung it all season, and maybe even going back to spring training. Ian Desmond has had a 3-run home run and a rifled shot double into the gap in left center. He has gone alley to alley tonight, and that's the kind of hitter that he is. That's what I remember of him over the National League. Line drives all over the ballpark with line drive home run power. Two balls, no strikes. That changeup floating out there and not able to reach it. 2-2 now. Keuchel's been forced to throw from the stretch a lot more than he is accustomed to. Rangers with 6 runs on 10 hits tonight. Ooh, goodness. Foul back, and he was right on that one. And this, at least numbers-wise, reminiscent of what the Rangers did to Keuchel last September. He had 11 hits and 9 runs. They haven't quite put it together producing the runs, but certainly the hitting onslaught. Desmond waiting again for the 2-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Keuchel gets his 5th strikeout. And there are 2 gone for Elvis Andrus. Let's take a look at our Ford leaderboard. These are updated numbers. Elvis with a base hit and a couple of trips tonight, now up to 370. So he and Mark Trumbo trailing Trumbo's teammate Manny Machado. Machado at 397 this year. Former Ranger Ian Kinsler down there at 4th. 0-1.
Keuchel definitely throwing a lot more slow pitches in the last couple innings than he did early in the game. Change-ups and slow curveballs.
Elvis last time up, you remember, hit a sinking line drive to left that Rasmus dove for and didn't connect. It got by him for a triple. Triple and an RBI. Elvis now with 9 runs driven in. 2-1. Cole Hamels knows all about having to go to your secondary pitches when your primary isn't working. He had to do that last night, especially early, and finally got himself to work through the 6 2/3. Elvis this year with 2 strikes. How about those numbers? 7 for 18, a 389 average. That's the second highest in the major leagues. Springer moving to his right, puts it away, and that will do it. Rangers, though, get another run on 2 hits. They leave 1 after 5. It's the Rangers 6 and the Astros 2 on Fox Sports Southwest.
In Arlington, the Rangers on top of the Astros by a score of 6-2, and a busy news day here at Globe Life Park before batting practice got started. HOU Darvish through a live BP session, his 3rd. They'll evaluate things tomorrow, but all indications point that he will head out on a rehab assignment beginning in just a few days. Josh Hamilton will do the same, as will Chris Jimenez. So the order of those guys returns: Jimenez, then Hamilton, then Darvish. Also some other news on the injury front. Keone Kela will likely undergo surgery for a bone spur in his elbow. Called up today was Phil Klein, so it looks like Keone will be out till around the All-Star break if he opts for surgery. That has not been determined officially yet, though, guys.
All right, Em, thanks for the updates. Good stuff, and well, everything's pretty positive on the injury front. Keone's, fortunately, it sounds like if it's a bone spur, that's a lot better than the alternative of having Tommy John looking in the eye. 0-2 the count to Rasmus, starting off this 6th inning. Colby Rasmus tonight has homered and walked, now with 4 home runs this season with 9 RBI. Rangers 6 runs, 11 hits. Astros 2 runs on 4 hits. Call strike 3.
Yes, nice pitch.
Well, a couple of slow breaking balls to set him up, and then down and in right on the corner for the punch out.
Good selection of pitches, good movement too. That ball came right back and caught the lower inside part of the plate. Nice pitch.
So 1 gone, and Tyler White is next. You know, I guess you measure how far a guy has come after arm problems, the surgeries, and the shoulder problems that AJ had. If you look at how hitters react to him, there's not much difference now than there was 3 years ago when he was pitching well with Oakland. Hitters still have a hard time adjusting to his variety and location of pitches. Kubota power stats for you tonight: 5 1/3 for AJ. 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Astros 1 for 8 with runners on.
Here's what you're talking about.
Yep.
Good assortment of pitches. You got a hitter up there that's got power, likes to swing the bat, took a fastball right down the middle of the plate.
Yeah, if you're guessing pitch type with AJ, you're out of luck. You know, with the variety, with the assortment of fastballs at say 90, 88 to 90, and that slow curveball and a good changeup, you know, you got 3+ pitches for him tonight with that command. You're better off, I don't know, you know, as a hitter, Tommy, you're better off, I think, looking for one part of the plate or the other, either outside, inside, or whatever you handle best.
All I did, Buzz, is look for a fastball, swing from my heels.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
You need to talk to a good hitter to find out the best approach. There's a lot of hitters though that just look for the ball, and you know, and try to hit it. I think it's maybe the best of the hitters can narrow the pitcher down to a certain pitch in a certain area. But when you've got a guy that can throw that slow curveball at 66 and a fastball at around 88 or 90, that's a big difference of speeds. And then in between, he also has a pretty good cut fastball that he can throw.
Yep.
So he's got a good assortment of pitches. Just a matter of how he commands them.
And he had White reaching and a lazy fly ball out to Mazzara.
But I think what you were saying earlier, going back to how he pitched in 2013 when he won 14 games, this is who he was that year, how he's pitching right now. He gave up a home run. He gave up, as you said, 36 home runs that year. Okay, he's given up his home run, solo shot to Rasmus. He's had a couple of walks, 5 strikeouts. He's pitching his kind of a game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pitched pretty well his first 2 starts, but I think this is the first time where he had a good assortment of pitches and much better command of all his pitches, especially his fastball.
There's a good fastball in at the knees to Preston Tucker, who doubled to right his last time up. Well, Tucker now a .258 average. 1 ball and 1 strike. Saw the pitch total for AJ, 103 pitches, 68 strikes, so just about what you like to see, strikes to balls. Chop foul, and well, again, able to get the hitter out on the front foot just ever so slightly.
That slow curveball, it's even better than a changeup because it has the kind of speed that causes you to be out in front of it, but then it's got that big break to it, which is hard to time it. It's hard to make the bat hit the ball when it curves that much.
2-2. Yeah, I don't think many guys try to throw that because it's harder to throw. It's harder to get in the strike zone for most people. Yeah, AJ's perfected it pretty well.
Yeah, when it breaks that much from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it is hard to drop it in the strike zone.
Tucker fortunate just to get a piece of that. See a look at his face. Wow.
I was thinking, okay, now what's coming?
Yeah. Rangers infield in an overshift for Tucker. AJ Griffin back to the plate. Full count. So Tucker, the DH, hitting 6th in the order. If he is able to extend this inning, Carlos Gomez is next. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. Up and away with a fastball. And that is strikeout number 5 for AJ. 1, 2, 3, 6. 5.5 in the books. Rangers leading 6-2. It's time now for the Sonic Slam Inning, brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,200 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Dana Archip from Austin will win $1,200. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Dana is going to take home $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. And Rule going after that first Dallas Keuchel offering. 0-1. Let me correct myself on one thing. I shorted A.J. Griffin a strikeout. I said 5. He had 6. A.J. Excellent outing. Rua, a single and a run scored. 1 out of 2 tonight. And Ryan with that base hit, a .318 average. 1-2. Ryan, this is 6th start. 3rd time he started at first base. And the Rangers facing a couple more left-handers in Chicago. Shoots that one to right field for a base hit.
That's a pretty easy way to get a hit when there's no one there. They had the shift on in the infield. And Ryan went the other way with that ground ball. Hit it solidly for a base hit. He had a base hit to lead off the 2nd inning and scored a run. No one at second base. Nice swing, hard hit ball, base hit. 2 for 3 for Ryan getting the start tonight. Came into the game hitting .300.
Well, the Rangers now have matched their hit output that they had last year against Keuchel here. 11 hits tonight. Ryan Holiday lost one into shallow center, but Gomez had a pretty good read on it. That is out number 1. Rua staying at first. Well, Bryant, who had singled his first 2 times up, now 2 for 3. And Tony Barnett loosening in that Ranger bullpen. It appears that A.J. Griffin probably finished the night to utter 105, 106 pitches.
Well, with Keone Kela on the disabled list, Jeff Bannister said that he's been very pleased with the way Tony's been throwing the ball. He'll move into that unofficial 7th inning spot in the rotation out in the bullpen. Phil Klein will probably move into the spot that Tony Barnett was filling somewhere before the 7th inning.
Hanser Alberto, a sacrifice bunt and a strikeout. 0 for 1 tonight. Check swing, that fastball tailing away. 2-0. Hanser now 1 for 12 in the early part of this season. Rangers playing their 16th game of the year.
Hanser's getting a start today. He's aggressive, wants to go up there and make something happen offensively. He's seen a lot of changeups, a lot of slow pitches.
Keuchel doing a pretty good job against most guys, working them backwards. Correa, off balance throw, not in time. Hanser Alberto has a base hit.
Yeah, good to see Hanser get a base hit right there. You know, he was playing almost every day in spring training. He got into a groove. He had almost 400 in spring training himself. Ryan Rua did. He was more around, Hanser was more around 390-ish. A little tougher to get into a groove when you're playing as a utility player. But he gets himself a base hit. He had a nice sacrifice bunt earlier in the game.
And using that good speed to make sure he got down there for the base hit. Well, 1st and 2nd with 1 out. And Delino to Shields up there for the 4th time. Wouldn't be surprised to see Delino try and drop down a bunt. Even with Keuchel on the mound, the way Delino can maneuver that ball down the 3rd baseline. We've got Valbuena playing back of the bag by a couple of steps. Rua at second. Alberto at first. Pretty good speed on the base paths. 2 balls, no strikes. Field hits since the start of last year. Delino with 32, Altuve with 33, D. Gordon, the runaway leader in that category. Gordon down there with the Marlins.
There's a
Yep.
good indication of that screen and how fortunate some of the fans were. There's a bunch of kids sitting right behind the dugout. And that ball hit the screen right in front of them. So I would think most of the people that come to frequent games that sit there have gotten used to the screen. But for the occasional fan who looks through that screen and said, I'd rather have the screen not there for my sight of the ball game, those kind of plays say, whoa, I'm glad it was there. You can see the kids in the second row, kids in the first row. And I don't care if you're a big league ball player sitting in that dugout seat without a screen. It's hard to get out of the way. I used to see guys get hit in the dugout all the time before they had the screens there. And those are big leaguers that are used to catching the ball and getting out of the way.
Sure.
It's just impossible, no matter what you say at the beginning of the game. I'm going to concentrate on every pitch. I'm going to be ready. And we caution people to try to do that. It's impossible. You just can't do it every pitch. And you never know when that ball is going to come that way.
Yep.
So I'm a big proponent of those screens in front of the dugout. And I think most of the fans are too, if not all of them.
Full count to Delino. Slowly hit to third. Valbuena only has that one play. The force at third. Rua forced out. Now runners at first and second and 2 away for Nomar Mazara. Mazara, last time up, did a real good job of waiting on an off-speed pitch from Keuchel and shot a double into the right center field alley. And Nomar with that average at 361 now, 1 for 3 tonight. Came around to score after that leadoff double in the 5th. Nice block by Castro. 1 ball and no strikes.
Jake Arrieta is going out for the 9th inning with a no-hitter. This one has to be fairly tough to concentrate. It's a 14-0 game. He's had a lot of long innings, so he spent a lot of time in the dugout waiting to go back out. Not just for the 9th inning, but for a lot of the other innings.
Going the other way, that's through the shortstop hole. Alberto around third will score. The throw goes to third, and out is Delino to Shields. And they're going to say the run did not score before the out was made.
Boy, sure looked like it.
And I think you're going to have a challenge on this as Jeff Bannister out of the dugout very quickly. So now wait a minute. We want to, obviously the out is the third of the inning. The inning's over, but you want to take a look at it. See right in that frame.
Nope.
Yeah, it did not score. Correct call by the umpires. And Bill Welke right there had both in his line of sight. He could see it, and he made the call immediately. Said, nope, that run does not count. And Jeff Banner's saying, okay, guess we don't have enough to do it. So, Rangers not able to score despite having 3 hits in the inning. They leave a one on base. We'll go to the 7th inning, 6-2 Texas. Well, our Ford game summary this evening. Ian Desmond got it started for the Rangers. A 3-run bomb, his first in a Ranger uniform. 3-1 Texas after 1. Elvis Andrus looped in a triple that got by Colby Rasmus. Desmond scoring. The only blot on the ledger, home run wise, was Colby Rasmus off of A.J. Griffin. That made it 5-2. Rangers added another one to make it 6-2. And A.J. Griffin is finished for the night after 6 very good innings. He gives way to Tony Barnett. Tom was talking last inning about Tony Barnett sliding into that 7th spot. He's done very, very well after the first couple of outings were a little bit rough. 5 1/3 scoreless innings in his last 5 outings. That after giving up 2 runs in his major league debut against the Seattle Mariners back in the 2nd game of the season. So Tony on now to face the bottom 3rd of the Astros order here in the 7th inning. Beltre takes care of that one hopper and throws out Gomez. 1 pitch and 1 away for Barnett. Talking about A.J. Griffin, how about our Jimmy John's delivery of the game? And A.J. Griffin made a lot of great deliveries tonight. He had it all working. The curveball that he dropped in almost at will. And he popped that fastball on the first base side of home plate and then up and away to the left-hander. So great job by A.J. Griffin. His 31st consecutive start, working 5 innings or more. 6 full tonight. Luis Valbuena is the hitter. Barnett missing for ball 1. Valbuena has hit a line drive to second and a fly ball to left. 0 for 2 tonight. Hitting at an even 200.
I shortchanged the Cubs a couple of runs, Buzz. It's actually 16-0.
Well, they were past the mercy rule, whatever it was. You get that far. Ball and a strike. Barnett back to the plate. Tony Barnett, the 32-year-old rookie who spent the last 6 years honing his craft over in Japan. Found out that as a reliever, he could pitch very effectively. In the latter stages of the ball game, became a very successful closer over there. And now has come back to make his major league debut at age 32. Balls behind here to Valbuena at 3 balls and a strike. Valbuena hitting 8th in the order. Jason Castro, the catcher, is next. Rangers 6 runs on 13 hits tonight. Astros 2 runs on just 4 hits. Rua will take it to the bag and he will win that race. Valbuena is the 2nd out. Now Castro. Well, Tony Barnett doing a good job coming back to get Valbuena after falling behind in the count. Rangers finish up here tonight that it's off to Chicago, the Windy City, for the weekend. Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Dave Raymond will sit in with Tom Green, bring those games to you. And
have a nice 3 days off, Buzz.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. Got my honey-do list to take care of. I'm sure that
you're going to be grilling any barbecue or anything?
I am. I'm going to burn a couple steaks.
We'll be thinking about you. I'll also be thinking about you tonight when we're pulling into the hotel and how soundly you're sleeping.
Yeah, there's a chance I might be in my bed before you're in yours. But I will be back with you all on Monday. Come back here and the Yankees come into town. 0-1 the count to Castro, who's 0 for 2 tonight. Nothing in 2. Aaron Hardigan waiting to see the outcome of that Jake Arrieta potential 2nd career no-hitter. Barnett readies for the 0-2 pitch. Check swing. Did he go? Yes, he did.
Nice
Tony
move.
Barnett.
Might go back out for the 8th inning.
A very clean 1-2-3-7. We'll take the stretch here in Arlington. Rangers on top of the Astros, 6-2. Yeah, I've heard of him anyway. That was one of only 7 that Nolan threw.
4 walks, 119 pitches. Chris Bryant went 4 for 6 with 6 RBIs. So they had it going tonight.
The pitch count police are going to be all over that. They're going to be protesting tomorrow in Joe Madden's office.
They go to 12-4 on the year. Look like the team to beat in National League Central.
Later in Beltre leading off the Rangers 7th. Pat Neshek has come out of the Astros bullpen to take over. Neshek, a 35-year-old right-hander, signed as a free agent off-season before last. Beltre rifles one to center. Going back, Gomez, he can't get there. That ball is gone. Adrian Beltre, a line drive home run. It is 7-2 Rangers.
All you could say through the first 2.5, 3 weeks of the season is Beltre looks exactly like he did the last couple of months when he knocked in about a run per game. One of the guys carrying the offense. And he might be playing even better defensively right now than he was last year. So that's great to see him this healthy in April playing this kind of baseball.
Boy, that ball had very little hang time. Well, maybe a little more than Mitch Moreland's had the other night, but not much. I think the guys in the dugout wish he'd hit about 45 home runs so he can get on him more.
He got this Neshek shaking his head. He hit the center square with that slider.
Yeah.
And he could tell, he didn't even watch it. He just could tell by the sound of the bat that something bad was about to happen.
Oh, and Prince Fielder popped one up. Castro off with the, oh, he dropped it.
Well, Prince gets another life. Spreading those drop pop-ups around a little bit.
Well, Tyler White had one last night. Now Jason Castro is a very solid defensive catcher. Has one pop out of his glove. That'll be an error scored on Castro for that drop.
Just closed his glove too quick. Prince thinks he's out. Whoops. I got a new life.
Oh, yeah. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now, Pat Neshek, who last year appeared in 66 ball games with the Astros, spent the year before in St. Louis, had a couple of years with Oakland. Misses high.
Watch out in the camera, well. Vic Sosa behind the camera there.
And Prince drives one to right center. Springer going back, reaches up, and hauls it in.
I don't know if there's anybody in baseball that can run down a ball better than Springer. I've seen it twice in this series. That ball was just crushed on a line in the gap. It just looked like he was faster than the ball. Watch him sprint to this ball. Man. Off the bat, you're the hitter. You just know that's an extra base hit. Then you go, oh no, it's Springer.
Yeah.
It's Spider-Man out there.
Boy. No, one hard out. Now Ian Desmond, who is 2 for 3 tonight, a 3-run home run and a double. He has scored twice. Range is now 7 runs on 14 hits. Got him off the end of the bat, and Correa had double clutches, but still has time to throw Desmond out. 2 gone. Well, always exciting out at the ballpark, and none more so than the Texas Chili Company Dollar Hot Dog Day. It'll be next Wednesday. Yankees are in town. That's the final game of that Yankee series. You get all the hot dogs you can eat from the Texas Chili Company for just $1 each. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com. That's a 7:05 start next Wednesday night with the Yankees. Here's Elvis, swinging strike 1. Elvis has a triple and an RBI in 3 trips. And Neshek pours in that fastball. 0-2. Neshek broke into the major leagues with the Twins back in 2006. Got him swinging. Odd angle, some pretty good stuff. He gets the strikeout, but Adrian Beltre greeted him with Beltre's 3rd home run of the year, a line drive bolt into the camera well, and Vic Sosa out there in center. A run on a hit, nobody left. To the 8th we go, 7-2 Rangers.
Time for the Burgess fan of the game. We got to give it to Knox. Are you kidding me? Check this out. 3-week-old Knox. 3-week-old Knox. And this is the Poole family in from McKinney. How'd you come up with this great name?
Oh, gosh. I was talking to my grandmother, my 92-year-old grandmother. It's a huge Rangers fan. And I said, hey, what do you think about Knox? And, of course, she goes, oh, Jim Knox. I said, of course.
I like it. I like it. Look at this guy. We got to give him the bag the whole way. We don't want to wake him up. When he gets the bag, we'll also throw in a diaper, okay?
Awesome.
All right, there we go. Way to go, Knox.
Thank you.
Cute little guy. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Knoxy.
We're going to see little Knoxy out here in about 10 years after the game, jumping up and down with everybody else after the game. It takes the Knox legend to a new level.
The world-famous Jim Knox. Well, you know you've arrived when people start naming their
No
kids.
kidding.
And that's usually reserved for
Nolan Ryan.
and Bretts and people like that.
Nolan had him coming with two names. He had Nolan's and he had Ryan's.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Tony Barnett, after a very efficient 7th inning, back out there for the 8th, facing the top of the order. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Altuve. Altuve tonight, 1 for 2. He has walked, also doubled and scored. That's how the first inning started against A.J. Griffin. The next time in the 3rd inning, he grounded to short. Tony, he needed 9 pitches in that first inning. A strikeout and 2 groundouts. Ranger fans getting pumped up to celebrate a sweep if the Rangers can close this ball game out. Swung on and missed. Altuve got a late start. Holiday has time and a great dig by Ryan Rua. Boy, that is some great hands down there by Rua.
Well, Ryan said, I've got to go out there and match what Mitch Moreland does out there. And one of the things Mitch does so well is pick the ball out of the dirt. And Ryan did the same thing.
Well, good job here, too, by Brian Holiday getting after it.
Yeah, I think Altuve wasn't sure whether he's going to be called out or not. By the time he realized it, it was a little bit too late, thanks to that nice play by Ryan at first base.
George Springer goes after that first pitch and can't connect.
Well, we're seeing a little bit better velocity from Tony today. I think he's starting to get in a groove. That last pitch was 95. Most of his pitches, earlier in the year were maybe 92-ish. But today it's been 93 to 95. So we're seeing him at his best in this ball game.
One ball and 1 strike. Barnett, basically a 4-pitch pitcher. Pretty good split-fingered pitch, too, that he uses as a changeup. Jake Diekman loosening that left arm of his up.
What would happen to your shoulder if you just stretched like he just did?
Oh, I'd pop things out right and left. It looked like if you'd taken the silverware drawer and turned it upside down, that's what it would have looked like, my shoulder popping stuff out.
Is that how it would have sounded, too?
It would have sounded the same way, yeah. I don't have any natural attachments in there anymore. It's all metal inserts. A ball and 2 strikes. Barnett ready. And Tony working on a 6 2/3 scoreless streak going. Springer taking his time getting back in. George Springer tonight, an RBI double in 3 trips. Off the end of the bat. Elvis gobbles that up. Springer's gone, 2 away. Not a lot of solidly hit balls against Barnett. The ground balls have been off the end of the bat, off the hands.
Very impressive outing. He's only thrown 19 pitches to get 5 outs.
A 2 away, Carlos Correa now will come up. Correa 0 for 3. Lined out to Hanser Alberto, the second baseman, his last time up. And Alberto again playing just to the first base side of second, maybe 3 steps toward first base. Deep down the right field line, but that is going to slice back and out of play. Correa hitting at .255 as he faces Tony Barnett. 3 home runs, 7 RBI. Tony Barnett retired the first 5 Astros he's faced tonight. Little blooper, shallow right field. That's going to fall. Alberto not able to get there, and Correa with a fisted single. That snaps the 5 straight hitter retired streak for Barnett. So a 2-out single, and Colby Rasmus will get a shot here in the 8th inning. Just the 5th hit of the night for the Houston Astros. Folks, MLB.TV Premium, everything you've come to expect and a lot more. There's also a new low price for 2016. You can watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams live in true HD on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Just visit MLB.TV for details. Rasmus a home run and a walk in 3 trips, 1 for 2 officially. Nothing in 1. Josh Fields loosening in the Astros bullpen. Nothing in 1 as Barnett checks Correa at first. Tony rushing it up there pretty good. Got it by Rasmus. 0-2.
Yeah, everything is 93 or above. That pitcher's right in the center of the plate. Still threw it by him.
Two outs in the 8th inning. Crowd starting to make a little noise. Getting into the possibility of a sweep here coming up pretty quick. Pop foul. We'll have to try it again. Colby Rasmus, the average just down below 300 now, 295. But he has become pretty much an everyday player for the Astros. His home run, the 4th of the season. He has 9 RBI. Another 0-2 pitch. That ball is hammered to right field. Mazzara back. That ball is gone. His 2nd home run of the night. That makes it a 7-4 Ranger lead. Like Rasmus got an off-speed pitch and drove it into the lower home run porch.
Yeah, Tony was kind of overpowering him with his fastball. And he fouled a couple off. He threw one by him, and then he threw him an off-speed pitch, and that was right in Rasmus' wheelhouse. Out over the plate, center of the plate, and there it goes.
So that home run is going to be the last pitch that Tony Barnett throws tonight. Jeff Bannister out to make a pitching change. So after the 2-run home run, Tony Barnett finished for the evening. Pitching change underway. We will take a timeout and be right back to tell you about Jake Diekman after this on Fox Sports Southwest. two-run game now with the two-run home run by Colby Rasmus, his second of the night. Jake Diekman brought into the ball game with the bases empty and two away. Diekman has appeared now in all 3 games of this series. Diekman will be asked to face the right-handed hitting Tyler White. 9th appearance for Diekman. He only worked 5 innings, so not asked to come on to pitch anything more certainly than an inning, and a lot of appearances, a third or even 2/3 of a frame.
He's been pretty efficient in his first 2 outings in this series, coming in and dominating with his stuff.
And just in case Tyler White didn't think that was the case, you hear it. Loosen you up a little bit, a fastball, and say hello to you. Tyler White 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of fly balls and a ground out. 2-0. Two and one. Diekman, a 29-year-old from Nebraska. Came over last year, you remember, the trade deadline, along with Cole Hamels, that big deal with the Phillies. 2-2. Jake Diekman, originally a 30th round draft pick by the Phillies back in 2007. Made his major league debut in 2012 with Philadelphia. 2-2 with 2 outs. To center field. Wide to Shields, drifting back. And that will do it. So Diekman comes in to put out the fire. Tyler White flies out. The Astros get a couple of runs on 2 hits. We're going to the bottom of the 8th. Rangers 7, Astros 4 on Fox Sports Southwest.
In Arlington, the Rangers leading the Astros by a score of 7-4. This is the finale of a 3-game series between these two. Then it is on the road for the Rangers, a quick 3-game set in Chicago against the White Sox. Martin Perez gets the ball in the opener. He'll face off against the 2015 All-Star Home Run Derby winner Todd Frazier mañana. 7 o'clock first pitch here on Fox Sports Southwest. We thank the fine folks at AT&T High-Speed Internet for getting us ready for the opener between the White Sox and the Rangers, guys.
All right, Emily, thank you. Well, Josh Fields, who you'll remember came into Tuesday night's ball game and failed to retire a Ranger. He gave up 4 hits and a couple of runs. Back out there now, facing Ryan Rua. And to start off the bottom of the 8th inning. Bottom third of the Ranger order, Rua, Holiday, and Alberto. Ryan, a couple of hits tonight, getting the start against the left-hander Keuchel, and he answered the bell with the pair of singles. 2 for 3, that average now at 348 for Rua. And the Astros again in an overshift to the left side for the right-handed hitting Rua. Starting to see a little bit more of this, and I still don't really understand guys that you couldn't have a huge book on.
Even if you have a book on him, he's already hit 2 balls to right field.
Yeah.
And you've got a hard guy throwing 95 miles an hour out there. I don't know how you can figure that he's going to pull the ball on the ground right now. He's already hit 1 ground ball to second and a base hit to right. So I'm kind of glad to see it. He'd probably hit another one over there. Mazzara did the same thing. The one thing that we could say watching Mazzara, he does not look like a pull hitter at all. Even if you want to play him around the other way in the outfield.
Speed pitch got Rua. Going down swinging, and there is out number 1. And Brian Holiday coming up. Holiday 2 for 3 tonight. Singled in each of his first 2 times to the plate. Rangers have put up 14 hits tonight. 13 of those against Dallas Keuchel. That's the most he has ever given up against a single team in a game. So the 2 Cy Young Award winners from last year, kind of opposite ends of the spectrum tonight. Jake Arrieta, a no-hitter for the Cubs, and Dallas Keuchel, a 13-hitter for the Astros. Two and 0. Three balls and no strikes. Well, Holiday trying to get on for the 3rd time tonight. He'll be followed by the second baseman, Hanser Alberto. And ball 4. The field's a strikeout, now a walk. 1 on, 1 out. Alberto coming up. Yeah, he's going to be called back. Jeff Bannister asking Rougned Odor to come off the bench and pinch hit for Alberto. Odor faced Josh Fields the other night, leading off the 6th inning when Fields entered the game. Had a single. A nice round of applause for Rougned Odor as Chuck Morgan announces it.
Remember that 2-run homer that won the game last night?
With Odor up there, now the overshift goes the other way as Carlos Correa moves on to the first base side of second. Jose Altuve way over in the hole. Rougned Odor against the Astros has put up some of his best offensive numbers, a .303 career hitter. And 6 home runs. He has driven in 24 against Houston pitching. 34 ball games. It's the top of the strike zone with that breaking ball.
Well, I saw Brian earlier in the game. It was called back on interference, but he stole second base, went to third on a bad throw. Fields must have been watching that. Not gonna let the catcher steal on me.
Brian Holiday's taking that as a compliment. Thank you very much. 0-2. Oh, with the advanced analytics we have, the batting average with high pitches. Now this is letter high or above. Odor, 4th with a .462 average, and look who's on top. Adrian Beltre.
The Rangers. I'd say the Rangers are a high ball hitting team.
They're pretty well represented, aren't they?
4 out of 5.
4 of the 5. And Odor not able to get on top of that one. He has gone on strikes. Out number 2. Well, here comes Delino. DeShields 0 for 4 tonight. Brent Strom is going to go out, pitching coach, and have a little chat with Josh Fields and Jason Castro. Milwaukee's going to go out there and remind him, hey, you got 30 seconds total now. You got to get off the mound. Delino 0 for 4 tonight. He has grounded out 3 times, one of them resulting in an RBI, and fly to center field. A game here on Tuesday. Delino able to drop down a bunt for a base hit. It was a sacrifice situation, but he turned that into a base knock against Josh Fields. 1 ball and no strikes. Ryan Holiday establishing his lead over there at first base. Popped him up shallow center. Carlos Gomez takes care of it, and that'll do it. So the walk left stranded by the Rangers. We're going to inning number 9, and it is tally time once again. 3rd straight night, Rangers in the same situation, leading 7-4.
Tonight is having a good night. Down I-30, Mavs followed 1-2 in their opening series with the Thunder, while the Rangers here are half a tally inning away from sweeping the Astros in the first Silver Boot series this season. Stick around afterward. We got loads of reaction to this one coming your way on Rangers Live post-game, starring Mark McLemore. He's sitting to my right. He'll join me at the desk. We'll join the guys across the way. Emily will be working the clubhouse, and Knox with the happy fans. It's all coming your way on Rangers Live after the game as we kick it back to you, Buzz and Todd.
All right, Aaron, thank you. Well, we head to the 9th inning, and for the 3rd straight night, Sean Tollison has to come in to preserve a Ranger lead and get his save this evening. Tolly 5 out of 6. He is 2 for 2 in this series. And he enters in almost an identical situation as the game on Tuesday night. He came in, the game is 7-4. Rougned Odor stays in the ball game, takes over at second base after pinch hitting for Hanser Alberto. In that game, Tollison came on, faced the pinch hitter Rasmus, whom he walked. And Rasmus would eventually come around to score in that inning to make the final score 7-5. Tucker that night was the second hitter, and he lined to center. This time, Tucker leading off in the ninth inning. Tucker, Gomez, and Valbuena.
It looked like Sean might get the night off until Rasmus hit that home run and turned it into a save situation.
Check swing, didn't really want to do it, and Beltre says thank you. You're right. One gone.
Well, get that leadoff hitter. Keep the Astros from being able to turn the lineup over and getting to the top of the lineup. Altuve, Springer, Correa. Ended here in the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah. AJ talking to Derek Holland, who worked here on Tuesday night. It's Moreland the night off. Carlos Gomez 0 for 3 tonight. And what a surprise. He swung at the first pitch. All those advanced statistics, leaderboards came out today. I didn't check to see where Gomez was on percentage of swinging at the first pitch, but I would bet that he's at or near the top. Field down to first base, and DJ Rayburn. Oh, he's sixth highest. Who are the other 5? That's what I want to know. They must count the swings they're taking in the on-deck circle. Two balls and a strike.
Yeah, I would have voted on Altuve last year.
Yeah.
But not this year.
Right. 2-2.
95 from Sean on his third straight day.
Good young Astro team that matured a lot last year. Off to a bit of a slow start this year, just 5-10. They trail by Tolly nods the 2-2 pitch. We'll try it again.
They're throwing high fastballs. Almost hanging in there, but a little bit overmatched so far in the at-bat with those fastballs.
Gomez facing a guy that's pretty hot as far as saving ball games. Tollison, 40 out of 43 possible saves since last May 20th.
Same result. It's 94 miles an hour, a little jam shot.
Moving it further inside each time.
Lofted foul down the right field line.
Another 2-2. Got him swinging. After all the heat, he got the hook.
We're going to hit that one. After all those fastballs, he had to gear up for it. And Sean put a little wrinkle in it, threw a little bit low and outside, and got him to swing at it. Hard slider right where he wanted it. See where Brian Holiday sets up, and Sean delivers it right there.
So this crowd now of 25,886, almost to a person, on their feet. They want to see this sweep of the Astros right here. Luis Valbuena takes ball 1. Valbuena tonight is 0 for 3. Ground out, fly out, line out. Popped up foul. That will reach the seats. Tollison able to get the ball in on both right-handers and left-handers in this frame. A.J. Griffin being a cheerleader for Sean Tolleson, saying, yeah, go ahead and close it out. I'll go to 2-0. And there is a happy young Ranger fan. Baseball in hand and ready to go.
That's a lot of hat to grow into right there.
1-1. Up the middle, a base hit for Balbuena.
And high changeup. Laid on the fastball, right on the changeup.
No, Balbuena aboard with a 2-out base knock. And that is going to bring up a pinch hitter for Jason Castro. Evan Gattis has come off the bench. And he will pinch hit here. Well, Gattis, a Dallas native who had DH'd in the first 2 games. Brought on to face Sean Tolleson. 1 on, 2 out. Rangers leading by 3. Chopper slowly hit Beltre across the diamond, and that is a winner. The sweep is completed. The Rangers have now won 10 straight ball games against these Houston Astros in Globe Life Park in Arlington. It is definitely Ranger country here in North Texas. Ian Desmond, a big night, propelled the Rangers to a win here this evening. 7-4 the final. A.J. Griffin gets his 2nd win. And a nice job by Sean Tolleson to close out his 6th save and 7 opportunities. The Rangers a very solid series against the Astros. A 7-5 win on Tuesday night. A 7-4 win here tonight. Sandwiched in between was a nail-biter last night, a 2-1 game. And Rangers captain with the Texas flag behind home plate as the Rangers get high fives and handshakes all around after that victory. The Rangers, for the first time this year, have won 4 consecutive ball games. They moved to 4 games over 500. All of those first-time marks. And let's head down to the field. Emily Jones is standing by with tonight's winner.
Thank you very much, A.J. Griffin. That one had to be a little extra special to sweep the Astros and to perform the way you did.
Absolutely. I've never been part of the Texas series like this, so that was pretty sweet to be able to come out here and get that final game.
Seemed like a little shaky early on, but settled in after that first inning. What changed there for you?
I just started mixing my pitches up more. They did a good job of capitalizing.
I did get a little. Well, that one had to feel good though too.
Yeah, it's pretty cold, but it's all good.
As far as the adjustments that you made after that first inning, what was it?
After that first inning, I just started mixing my cutter in more, my curveball, and Brian did a great job calling the game today, and gotta give him some credit right there.
When the offense picks you up the way they did right there in the bottom of the first inning after you gave up that 1 run, how much confidence does that give you on the mound?
Oh man, that's a breath of fresh air right there. Putting 3 runs on the board right away, I could go back to work and just try to execute pitches and keep us ahead in the game.
And then finally, AJ, for you guys as a team to sweep a team like the Astros, what does that do for you all as you head out on the road now?
I mean, that's a great club. They had a good pitcher on the mound tonight too, and we did a great job of just going out there and grinding through at bats and doing what we needed to do to come out on top tonight. So it was a great win.
AJ, congratulations. We appreciate the time. We'll send it back up to you guys.
All right, Emily, thank you. A very happy A.J. Griffin, a happy Ranger clubhouse as they get set to head on out to Chicago after the sweep of the Astros. We'll be back to Globe Life Park with more right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.